now, ladies and gentlemen, the interviewer himself.
The tables have been turned.
Ooh, we didn't turn the tables. We kept the table in the same place.
So ask me a controversial question that will get me in trouble with the local.
You're not known by the local theater people other than a very small circle.
But then I'm okay. Then ask away.
Well, no, I find it really interesting that you came to town. Was it 12 years ago?
1992 originally.
Yeah.
But I didn't get into theater until 90. I mean, I'd been into theater before.
Right.
95 was when I got into local theater.
Oh, okay. So you weren't a complete virgin when you got here.
Oh no.
Okay.
No.
Did you?
In some ways I was, but not like that. So.
But you got to town and really quickly quickly established yourself with Unicorn.
That's what talent does for you. What can I say? It's like the Jonathan Winters thing. It says, right, yeah. Well, okay.
No, well, let's see.
What do you want? Ask away. What do you want?
Well, there's not a lot of controversy in local theater. I suppose there's small.
It's my agent.
That's my phone.
That's why it was a short call.
Okay, well, actually, probably the best question to ask you about, since you're a playwright, who's actually managed to be produced several times. I mean, I know there are lots of playwrights in this town. A whole lot of them.
Yep.
Not a lot get produced. There's workshops and there's classes and stuff, and so what do you think about? Do you think there should be more production of local playwrights' work? Do you think it should be fostered somehow? No pun intended. Do you think Do you think you got lucky? Do you think you're just really particularly brilliant? Or I think your plays are great, but I could be in the minority.
I think part of it had to do with being in the right place at the right time. So being lucky played a part in it. I also think that persistence played a part in it too.
Right.
And the persistence being a drive to get it done, to not give up the hunt when things look bleak. Mm-hmm. In fact, taking the bleak times as a cue to ramp up the effort.
Right.
And really persist. And I think, pursuing it in a way that was indicative of learning and improving rather than just assuming that I was brilliant. Like I know some writers who kind of do that. They just assume that they're brilliant right out of the gate, and anyone who reads their work ought to fall in love with them. And I don't see it that way. Even when early on, I never saw it that way. I saw myself as having a particular knack for writing, but I was improving as the more I was writing, the more I was improving. And I think my plays have actually gotten better. Better than they were. Not better than anyone else's per se, but better than my own.
Right.
Using myself as the benchmark.
So do we translate that as like the willingness to be edited by others, or to allow?
Oh, in the beginning I hated it.
Right.
I didn't want to be edited by someone else. I wanted to have the Orson Welles style, full control. My masterpiece, Kane. They didn't get to touch a frame of it. And the line, it's like what I say was like, it's like killing puppies.
Yeah. When Guy Things really your first Guy Things your first produced play in Monterey.
Guy Things.
Not biased, but.
No,
but at one point we said we had to cut it for time. There's a few too many things going on, and you said it's like cutting off pieces of a puppy. I can't do it.
Yeah. Little did I know that I was simply going through what all young playwrights go through.
Put young in quotes.
Young in quotes. Not that I, submit everything I've written to other people to critique, although I'm not afraid to do that.
Right.
But I'm more willing to be self-critical. I'm more willing to be vulnerable. as a writer. And I think that makes you a better writer. That makes you a better whatever you are. If you're willing to be vulnerable as that thing and allow yourself to be corrected or modified. Not that you want people to change you. You have to be your own man, but you have to be willing. You have to be open to the viewpoint of others as to how you're interpreted.
A couple times with a couple of your, like with Ambrose Bierce and one other play, you sort of found yourself. You were working through Unicorn Theater and working through the Carl Cherry Center, but you were also directing and producing and doing a lot of your own productions. Do you think, looking back now, that it was a good thing you were directing yourself or directing your own work, or do you think somebody, if in the ideal situation, would somebody else have been doing that? Or because I knew with Guy Things, the first time your preference was that you directed. You wanted to keep, because it was still sort of a work in progress, you wanted to keep some control over it.
I wanted the experience too.
Right.
Because it was a big show with a lot of actors, and maybe it was too big of a bite to bite off for a first attempt at directing. But it was like a trial by fire. It was like taking a sip from the fire hose. And about directing myself, if as a last resort, I direct myself. That's why when we did Lenny Bruce, I brought you in, and Jody, who is Lenny Bruce.
This is the play, Mr. Bruce, Do You Swear?
Yes, 2004. Casting a guy who knew Lenny Bruce better than I did to play Lenny Bruce. I wanted people that knew more than I did, in terms of, or not necessarily knew more than I did, but had a definite a different spin on it that was just as valid as my spin, because that legitimized it as a valid production. It wasn't just my vision of Lenny Bruce. It was closer to an accurate portrayal of Lenny Bruce, as my input, just being an interpretation, not a commanding vision of whatever it was.
Not a biopic, but a fictionalized biography.
No.
Or a.
Now with Ambrose Bierce, we had no choice, because what happened to him past a certain point in his life, nobody knows.
Right.
It was never written down. It was never recorded, and so I had to rely on intuition as to what could conceivably have happened to him.
Right.
And I did have people that were not coming aboard, but were involved in the sense that I would consult them, who knew Ambrose Bierce material, as well as, or knew Ambrose Bierce's history, as well as I did, like Talon Thomas, who had done a one-man show as Ambrose Bierce. I did a hell of a lot of research about Ambrose Bierce, and wound up having to research Pancho Villa along with him, because at that point in Ambrose Bierce's life, you start entering into Pancho Villa's history, because he was directly involved. And I wound up giving myself this history lesson that I hadn't even planned on. And in that sense, I was completely charting new territory for my own consumption. And maybe that's a key. I mean, maybe that's something you do as an artist, is you explore things that you don't. You take roads that you haven't taken before and find out where they go. Just find out more about what you can do or what you are.